Let me start by congratulating you on making an incredible decision to join the Primerica team. What we're going to talk about today, we call an orientation. And I think out of all of the moving pieces in our business, this is absolutely one of the most important conversations that we could have. I mean, if you were to call me up and say, hey, my grandmother left me $1 million, could you help me invest that money? Honestly, I wouldn't take that conversation as serious as I would take our conversation today. If you really understand the things that we're going to talk about today, this could be something that changes the financial future for your family for generations. And ultimately, we all want a great ending to the story. We all want to build a big business. We all want to ride off into the sunset. But to have a great ending to the story, it obviously helps to have a great beginning. And to have a great beginning, I think we have to understand exactly what we're here to do. And I always use an analogy, a story I heard years ago about the railroad industry through the 20th century. And the analogy has everything to do with you and me talking about Primerica today. And what they were talking about is how, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, most of the wealthiest families in North America were in the railroad business. But by the year 2000, that wasn't the case anymore. And they were really digging in to find out why. And I think what they found was fascinating. What they found was the people in the railroad business really misclassified the business that they were in. See, they were in the transportation business, but they only thought they were in the railroad business, and they missed the picture. So when the interstate highways got built and the trucking companies and the air freight and airplanes came along, well, those companies took most of the market share. Had the railroad folks known they were part of a bigger picture, well, they would have bought the planes and bought the trucks. They had the money. But instead, they put the resources into more rails and faster engines, more engineers, and they got beat. And you see that matters here because Primerica can look like a lot of different things to different people. I've talked to folks before that say, well, it kind of looks like an insurance business. And I say, yeah, kind of, but not really. Or I'll talk to somebody else and they'll say, well, it looks like an asset management or a brokerage business. I say it's sort of, but it's bigger than that. And see, the way that we perceive something determines the way we behave towards it, and the way we behave determines the outcomes that we get. And so in our industry, if you think about just the financial industry, there are some people as, let's just say, maybe narrow focused as building their entire practice just selling variable annuities. We've got a couple of great variable annuity products at Primerica as well, but some people, that's all they do is just that product. And because of that, I think that their opportunity is limited. But if we take one step back and say, you know what, I'm not really in just the variable annuity business, I'm in the investment business, which means I can do variable annuities, but I could also do mutual funds and managed accounts. I could set up retirement plans or college accounts, and in which case you have much more opportunity because you're casting a bigger net. Or we could take one more step back and say, I'm not even just in the investment business, I'm really in the financial services business, which means I can do all of those investment solutions, but I could also do term insurance and auto and homeowner solutions and legal protection plans, in which case you have even more opportunity, or I believe take the biggest step back of all and say, I'm not even in the financial services business, I'm in the distribution of financial services business, which means not only can I do those things, but I could also recruit and train and license and develop 10, 20, 50, 100, 500 other people that can do all of those things, in which case you have the most opportunity of all. And you see, one of the things I want to talk about as we start this morning, and I think it's probably been one of the biggest challenges, at least of my business, and you might find it to be a challenge for you as well, is to get people who for 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years that have been taught to think like an employee and all of a sudden get them to start thinking like a business owner. And I know for most people that goes in one ear and right out the other because we've been trained for so long to think a certain way. But let me assure you, these two creatures are entirely different people. See, an employee gets to go home every day at 5 o'clock even if the job's not done. But a business owner can't do that. An employee's favorite time of day is lunch. Business owners rarely take lunch. Usually I'll take my lunch to the office. I might take a client to lunch, but there's no way I'm going to waste an hour eating a sandwich when I've got a business to run. You see, just like a parent might make certain sacrifices for the benefit of their children, a business owner might make sacrifices for the benefit of their business. As a father, I will give up sleep so that my children can sleep better. I'll give up food so that my children can eat better. As a business owner, I'll give up some things so my business can run better. But an employee is never going to skip lunch to add more money to the bottom line. These are entirely different folks, and we have to approach this conversation through the mindset, through the eyes of a business owner. And I think it helps to start by stepping away from Primerica to begin with. And let's even step away from financial businesses altogether. Let's say that you and I have been friends since high school, and we've always had this dream of owning a restaurant together. I mean, like a really nice steakhouse, really fancy, not some, small little local chain. I mean, something really, really nice. Well, we can obviously have a great business plan, which is we want to be profitable in 3 years. We can have a great mission statement, which is we want to serve a great steak in a fun atmosphere. But at some point, we must take action or our dream stays a dream. So let's ask ourselves, what are the steps necessary to turn our dream into a reality? If we're going to go start a world-class steakhouse, what are some of the things we'd have to do? Well, I think if we thought this through, we would find out the very first thing we would have to do is find a great location. And you've heard that before, right? Location, location, location. We're probably going to have to dump all of our money right up front, building, getting the building, all the tables and the chairs, buying the steak, lobster, and the wine. We're probably going to spend $1 million or $2 million up front, but that's just how most folks start a great steakhouse. The second thing we're going to have to do is I do believe we're going to have to run it compliantly. So there are some licenses that we have to get. We got to make sure that we've got the right zoning permits. We've got to make sure that we've got the FDA inspections. There's no rats running around the kitchen. We've got to buy a liquor license. And most business owners are going to tell you that the red tape, well, that's the biggest pain in the backside. The third thing we'd have to do to run a great steakhouse is I think we're going to have to build a great team of people. We need some great folks working with us. Now, some people call that HR, some call it staffing. I like to call it build a team because it just sounds more fun. But if we're going to build a great steakhouse, we need a cook to cook, a server to serve, a hostess to host, a bartender to tend, a manager to manage. Because if it's you and me building a steakhouse, I promise you don't want me near the kitchen. And you and I are not going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I would tell you at this point right here, this is probably the most important step of success in our business. Here's why. We can have a beautiful facility. We can have the best steak money can buy. But if our waitress is a jerk, they're not coming back. Worse yet, they're probably telling their friends not to bother wasting their time or their money. We have to have some great people around us. But then lastly, number 4, somebody has to eat the steak in order for us to make money. And so let's say we've got to build clients. Now, when you think about it, it only takes a couple of minutes to come up with the 4 steps necessary to run a great steakhouse. The bad news for you and me is we're not starting a steakhouse. So we have to ask ourselves, are these 4 steps simply unique to the restaurant industry, or are these 4 steps part of every North American business? And I think you'll agree with me that these 4 steps are pretty much part of every North American business. See, at Primerica, are you going to have a great location? Well, yeah, and at this point, you've probably seen one. You've probably been in a 2,500, 3,500, 4,500 square foot office with tables and chairs and desks and computers, fax machines, office personnel, fake trees. I mean, we've got it all. And the most expensive part of you running a business, somebody else took care of for you for now. But the other three things you are going to have to bring to the table. Are you going to have to get a license? Well, of course you are. And we can provide the classes and the material, and we might even be able to study with you one-on-one. We just can't show up and take the test for you. Are you going to have to build and maintain client relationships, a client base? Well, of course you are. Are you going to have to build a team of people? Well, yeah, if you want a big business. Now listen, you and I probably know that 9 out of 10 small businesses today fail. And they don't fail because the business owner makes so much money so fast. They fail because the business owner makes too many mistakes too fast. And hopefully you and I are people that learn from our own mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And one of the benefits we believe you're going to have working inside the Primerica system is you're going to have experienced trainers that have already walked this path. You're going to be able to learn from the things that we did right, but more importantly, from the things that we did wrong. I'm very happy to tell you some of the mistakes that I made. So it should go faster for you. It should go better for you because you've got a mentor helping you that can help you navigate this path successfully. But when I talk about mistakes in business, here's what I want to talk about. Some mistakes are just a slap on the wrist. Some mistakes are, hey, you can't really say it that way. Next time, say it like this. But some mistakes in business are fatal mistakes. There's just no overcoming some of the mistakes that you can make. And one of the biggest fatal mistakes I've seen in our business, at least in my experience, is people try to do one and then the other and then the other, as opposed to doing all 3 things at the exact same time. And I'm telling you, we have to do all 3 things at the exact same time. See, in a restaurant, it makes perfect sense. What happens in our steakhouse if we buy all of our steak months before our cook is ready to cook? Well, our steak goes bad. What if we have a cook and steak but no clients? We have cook steak that goes bad. What if we have a cooking clients but no steak? You get my point, right? You have to have all three. But that's not easy to see in my business. Sometimes people will look at the Primerica business and say, well, how could I possibly build a team or build a client base if I've not yet been licensed and trained? Which on the surface sounds pretty logical. But if we follow that logic through, if that's the path we go down, I think you get rocked here. You get crushed for a couple of reasons. I mean, number one, you don't ever know everything about everything. Even in life, every day is a journey. But number two, if that was really the path a person went down, you're going to get all your licenses, all your certifications before we ever go talk to anybody. For months, all you'll be doing is taking classes and reading textbooks and practice quizzes and tests, getting licensed. You'll be bored out of your mind. You'll quit from sheer boredom. I've seen it happen. Secondly, is we didn't help any families or serve any clients, so you didn't make any money, so you're bored and broke. And thirdly, we didn't recruit anybody or build a team of people, so we're bored, broke, and lonely, which is not exactly what we're going for. But let's say, against our advice, that's the path that you went down, and 6 months from now, you're still here because you were too hard-headed to quit, which at that point could be a bad thing, could be a good thing. But 6 months from now, you finally recruit your first person. Well, what are you going to teach that person to do? Probably the same thing that you just did. Why? Because the team takes on the characteristics of the coach. If you're a slow starter and a low producer, you're going to attract people that are slow starters and low producers. But if you're a fast starter and a high producer, well, then you'll probably attract people like that. So if I waited to do it, I got rocked. But the flip side of that exact same coin was what if it was up to me to build my own team and build my own client base out of the gate day one, I'm telling you, I absolutely would have failed here. I was a 20-year-old punk kid. I knew nothing about nothing when it came to building a business. I still would tell you I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm just not 20 years old anymore. So you look at this and say, if I wait to do it, it doesn't work. If I try to do it myself, it doesn't work. And here's why I tell you it didn't work. The reason that I wasn't able to be successful on my own is I had no clue how to build a business or build a team of people or be experienced in the financial business. The reason I'm telling you that our system is designed for success is my first 30 to 60 days, I didn't build my team or my client base. The person that recruited me, a person that had been in the business 18 years already, somebody that knew what they were doing and was experienced, they helped me build my team and build my client base. So all I did was introduce my trainer, watch, and take notes. So I took my trainer to see mom and dad. They asked questions. He answered their questions. I took notes. We went and saw some of my aunts and uncles. They asked similar questions. He answered their questions, and I took notes. So after 4 or 5 appointments, I had heard almost every question that could be asked, and I knew the answers. I was trained. So you're going to watch as we help you build a team of 3 or 4 or 5 licensed agents that are working with you. You get to watch as we help you build 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clients that have been helped by Primerica in a tremendous way that love our company. You're going to watch as we help you build 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 warm referrals of people that actually want to talk to you. So that you've got a little team in place, you've got some experience, you know what you're doing, you've made a little money, you've got some momentum, but best of all, you watched us do it. So that you can go from being a trainee to independent as a soloist, meaning you just don't need a trainer to go with you anymore. But more importantly, to go from a soloist to a trainer. And you see, it's really important to us that you see everything that we do and everything that we talk about, especially starting now, through our eyes as trainers. And here's why. If you're normal, you're going to be a trainee a relatively short period of time. But you could be a trainer the rest of your career. And it's important that you understand there is a method to our madness and see that there are going to be some times where you might be in a training class or you might be on a conference call or at a big event, or it might even happen before this video is over today. And we're going to say something that hits you funny. And you're going to say, that doesn't really make any sense. I have no idea why you would say it that way. It's not what I would say. And every time that happens, and trust me, it's going to happen, we have to come back to the same foundation. And that foundation is that most of us have never before been taught how to run a business successfully. I just think about me, for example, when I got my driver's license at 16 years old, I got my first real job. Dad said, you could drive, you could work. And I remember showing up, it was a small business, and at 16 years old, I was being taught how to be an employee, but I was being taught that by somebody who owned a small business. Now, why do you suppose that small business owner didn't teach me everything about their business so that I knew everything that they knew? Well, of course, right? I mean, if I knew what they knew in a few years, I'd go across town, open up a store, and I'd compete with them. So at 16, I'm being taught to be an employee by a small business owner. But at 18, I went off to college like everybody told me to do, and I was taking business classes, people teaching me how to run a business, but I was being taught by professors who are employees. So at 16, I'm being taught to be an employee by a business owner. At 18, I'm being taught to be a business owner by an employee. At Primerica was the first time in my life I could be taught how to be a business owner by a business owner. So if anything is weird, it's not this. Somebody paying $80,000 for a business degree being taught by somebody who's not running a business, that's messed up. Now listen, you and I both know business owners typically don't get paid for what they themselves do. Business owners get paid for what other people do. And you have the opportunity to get the best people to go to work for you today. Us. You see, we're very good at what we do. You see, we're not sure yet whether you can build a team or build a client base. I don't know, maybe let's say 50-50. But we know with 100% certainty that we can build a team and build a client base. So you can learn this business one of two ways. You can learn this business watching us build our teams and our client base, or you can learn this business watching us build your team and your client base, which obviously makes the most sense. So as we continue to talk about the way business owners think as opposed to maybe employees, I want to give you another example that I think was tremendously helpful for me understanding what I was really looking at with the Primerica opportunity, and it allowed me some success early on as I was building my team of people. And again, stepping outside of maybe the Primerica business model, when you just look in North America, the past 50, 60, 70 years, a couple of business models that gave average and ordinary people a chance to experience incredible success, and business models that I think pretty much anybody could have taken advantage of. Now, most of us didn't, but I think we could have. What was this? One of the business models was a business model of broker businesses, and you've got different insurance brokers and real estate brokers and mortgage brokers, and just to kind of give you a visual concept, and I'm just going to use real estate. Obviously, we don't sell real estate at Primerica, but I think everybody's at least familiar with a real estate company or real estate firm or what it looks like. And another business model that gave average and ordinary folks a chance to experience above average success was franchise businesses. And again, obviously, Primerica is not a franchise, but I'm going to draw some parallels just for visual purposes today. And I want you to think about maybe in your neighborhood or wherever you live, maybe some of the biggest names in real estate. I mean, you've got national names, but there might be some successful folks around you as well. Now, and I want us to ask ourselves, how did these people build these businesses? I mean, certain names do come to mind when I think of national real estate firms, and these people built empires. I mean, there's, in North America, some of these companies, I mean, almost every neighborhood has a house for sale today by some of these companies. And we have to ask ourselves, what would their strategy have been to build their businesses? Do you think that these titans in real estate, do you think they sat down 50 years ago and said, you know what, here's my plan to take over the industry. I'm going to sell every house by myself, right? Absolutely not, right? Even the concept is laughable. We ask ourselves, okay, well, what did they do? What was their plan? Well, these guys went out and recruited people the industry would call brokers, and brokers are the ones that run local offices. It might be a national name, but some owner locally that runs that office. And we got to ask ourselves again, what was their business plan? I'm going to sell every house by myself. Well, not at all. You would never buy a real estate brokerage to go sell houses by yourself. Those people recruited folks that we call agents or realtors. And these are the people that help families buy and sell houses. Now, an agent, might make, let's just say, anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000 a year, just as an example. A broker might make $250,000 a year, and these big companies nationally might make, a couple of $1 billion. But what you have here is you've got a big business owner that recruits a small business owner, and a small business owner recruits a salesman. Now, the reason in this example that the agent makes the least amount of money is there's only one person whose efforts the agent can get paid from, their own. If you don't sell, you don't eat. But a broker can get paid off of all of their agents, and these big outfits get paid off the whole deal. The same is true in most franchise outfits. And, franchise first made popular in fast food, but now a myriad of business opportunities have become franchise, not ours, but a bunch of them. You think about these folks that built these big chains. If you were going to build an international brand in fast food, do you think that, whoever built that, do you think their goal was to wake up every day and cook burgers, flip burgers, serve burgers? Absolutely not. Those people recruited folks that we call owners or operators. Right? But do you think the folks in your neighborhood that bought a franchise, they bought it so they could wake up and cook burgers, flip burgers, serve burgers? Yeah, absolutely not. They recruit people that are called employees. And they pay employees, $8 an hour to work at the store, $35,000 to manage it. The owner might make, let's say, $250,000. Again, what we've got is a big business owner that recruits a small business owner, and a small business owner recruits an employee. And guys, that's not kind of how those businesses get built. That's exactly how those businesses get built, which means at this point in our conversation, we do need to talk just a little bit about perception. See, I've talked to folks before, once they look at Primerica, they're like, oh, wait. So this is one of those things where you can recruit somebody who can recruit somebody. Oh, no, I've seen something like that before. I'm like, what do you mean you've seen something like that before? Every business you've ever seen is like that. And we have to be very careful about the people that we listen to. See, most of us, we're products of our environment. And we get taught to think like the people around us and do the things the people around us do. And so when you think about, the perceptions that some people might have if they've never been exposed to business before, right, they might think this is a little bit silly, right? And so most of my family and friends, when I got started, most of my family and friends were, they were in sales or they were employees. I had friends and family that sold cars, sold houses, sold jewelry, sold cell phones. But honestly, a salesman's a salesman. And I had friends and family that were employees in healthcare, employees in retail, employees in manufacturing. But an employee is an employee. Not bad people, incredible people, just economically kind of at the bottom of the equation. So imagine how crazy it must have sounded to them after I saw Primerica and I came home and told them, I'm going to be a businessman. I'm going to build a financial business. I'm going to recruit 1,000 agents. We're going to open up 50 offices all across the Midwest. Imagine how crazy that must have sounded. I mean, they reacted like, are you out of your mind? What you're going to do? What? You're going to recruit me? Are you crazy? And guys, when these folks tell you that recruiting is crazy, they don't really mean recruiting is crazy. They've just never done any recruiting before. You see, at this position in corporate North America, we've all been taught to get recruited. Look, you probably know that there are classes in college today where all they teach you is how to put together a resume, how to ask the right questions on a job interview, and essentially beg for a job. So all of my buddies come out of college, they go buy a $10 sheet of paper, not a ream, a sheet, cardstock. They type up a resume. What's on a resume? Whatever I think you want to hear is what's on a resume. They go put on their one and only suit. They go sit in somebody's office, sit in a way they've never sat, and start speaking a language they've never spoken. Like my professional ambitions are to use my diversified talents in your global operation. And you're like, oh man, here we go again. And then the interviewer says, well, tell me, sir, tell me, miss, what would you describe as your greatest weakness? And what do we say? Oh, my greatest weakness is I'm a perfectionist or I'm an overachiever, right? We're taught to say those things because we're taught to get recruited. So if I would have gone back to my family and friends and said, okay, well, I still do want to be successful in business, but if you think recruiting is a really cheesy way to do it, what's your advice? All of them would have given me the exact same advice because it's the middle class way to start a business. All of them would have said, Jeff, you have to go back to school and finish your bachelor's. Because I dropped out. Now listen, I'm not telling you to drop out. If you're in school, stay in school. I'm not promising you're going to be successful if you drop out of school, but I dropped out. They said you got to go back and finish your degree. And then get a couple years of experience working with a big company, and then go back and get your MBA, and then a couple more years experience with a bigger company, and then Jeff, then you're ready to start your business. Isn't that what they all say? Well, here's my deal. Name me somebody that actually did it that way. Name me just one. Because that's not the stories I read. If you study most successful business owners in North America, here's the story. Started a business, failed. Started a second business, failed. Started a third business, got rich. In fact, if you think about some of the biggest names in business, right? Bill Gates dropped out. Steve Jobs dropped out. Zuckerberg dropped out. Michael Dell dropped out. Oprah dropped out to go get into the game. Because what's the best way to get experience working for yourself? Work for yourself. What's the best way to get experience running a business? Run a business. So if I would have listened to my friends and family, they were wrong and I would have failed. And I can't tell you how important that one sentence is, and how many people that I'll sit down and talk to that are all excited that they saw an incredible opportunity and local success, willing to teach them how to be successful in that opportunity. They go home and they start talking to some broke cousin or broke friend who's never owned anything and asking those people if they think this is a good idea. What do you expect them to say? Of course not. And then they call me the next morning and said, hey, I've been thinking, which isn't true at all, because if you were thinking, you would go back to the Primerica office and start your training right now. But anyway, I digress. But let's pretend for just a second that I didn't come from the middle class. Let's pretend that I came from the wealthy, that my family owned businesses and, had time and money. Dad was able to, hang out with the kids all the time or volunteer for church and missions. And let's say that I turned 20, 25 years old and it's time for me to go make my mark in business. And let's say that my dad's got a buddy, maybe he owns one of the biggest real estate firms in town. We'll call him Bob the broker. And I decide I want to go into real estate. And so I call my dad's buddy, Bob, and I say, hey, Bob, I'd like to be just like you. Can I buy you lunch and pick your brain? Bob says, yeah, let's meet. So I go buy lunch for Bob, and we sit down, and I say, Bob, listen, man, I need you to know before you give me any advice, I've already decided for my first year, I'm not going to recruit any agents. He'd look at me like, are you crazy? Well, how do you think I sell 200 houses a month, Jeff? See, a broker without an agent is an agent. What are you, nuts? And I say, you know what, maybe I didn't think this all the way through. Real estate might not be my thing. And I want to go a different direction. Let's say my dad's other buddy owns some sandwich shops. Let's call him Fred, the franchise owner. I know it's corny, but you'll remember it. And I call up Fred. I say, listen, I'm buying a sandwich shop. I want to be just like you. Can I buy you lunch and pick your brain? And so I go do the same thing with Fred. And I say, Fred, listen, I want to be just like you, but I need you to know for the first year, I'm not going to hire anybody. He would start looking around for the hidden camera like he was being punked, because nobody's that stupid. He said, well, what are you going to do, Jeff? You're going to order the sandwich, make the sandwich, clean it up, cashier the sandwich 7 days a week, 365 days a year? What are you, crazy? And what's my point? You know this already. Anytime you come to a fork in the road, and just in life, no matter which decision you make, somebody's talking trash. Look, if you choose to go to the right, everybody on the left calls you crazy. If you go to the left, everybody on the right calls you crazy. If you stay in the middle, both sides call you lazy and indecisive. Either way, somebody's talking trash. Here was my dilemma. If I recruited people, these guys called me crazy. If I did not recruit people, these guys called me crazy. Either way, I was going to be called crazy. My decision was this: you guys can call me crazy all the way to the bank. I'm going here. Because in North American business, the only two positions that exist are to recruit or get recruited. That's it. And as powerful as that concept is, there's one more piece of this analogy that I think's had even more to do with our success and understanding what we really have our hands on. And here's how I explain this. See, I came into Primerica, like most people come into Primerica, asking all the wrong questions. Right? And it's not really our fault. Again, I said we're products of our environment, but I was always trained to think a certain way, so I asked certain questions. And see, at the employee level of most corporations, the focus, the questions we ask have everything to do with the customer, with the client. So I came in asking questions about that. Where do I find my clients? How do I get more clients? How do I, make sure we got client satisfaction, client retention, upsell the client referrals? The focus is all about the client. And now listen, we do a fantastic job helping our clients. I mean, we're awarded frequently in the industry for customer satisfaction. So don't put words in my mouth that aren't there. I'm giving you the mindset here of building a North American business. But the focus is all about the client. Even in mid-level management, all the focus is on the client. See, I think quite frankly, if you were to think about some of the icons that built great franchise businesses, and some come to mind, especially in fast food, now, I think if we went and talked to some of these people and we showed them the Primerica business model, I think the questions they would ask would be very different than the questions I asked when I got started. I think the first question they might ask would be, you know what? What's the maximum number of locations I could run? I'd have to say, man, that's a really great question. I haven't thought about that. I mean, there is no maximum, I guess. And number two, right? What are the territory restrictions on my locations? I said, wow, well, we don't have any territory restrictions. I mean, you got to be licensed in whatever state or province you're in, but you could open an office right next door to me if you wanted to. And you say, well, who can I get to run these locations? I'd say anybody you want to. I mean, they got to be 18, they got to be a good person, but anybody you want to. They'd look back at me and say, so you're telling me that I can have as many as I want, anywhere I want them, and get anybody I want to run them? I'd say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. From that second forward, all they'd be thinking about is who do I know in DC or LA or Miami or Toronto. All they'd be thinking about is people and locations, and I came in asking who wants to buy a policy. You see the difference? By the time I might find 10 clients, they could have 10 offices up and running all across North America. And see, the reason I tell you that is this. In our business model today, right, I think it's similar that you could really choose to think like any of these three people that we were talking about today. And you're really not going to get a lot of pressure from us after today. We just want you to know what's on the table. There are some people in our company that just love to sell. They're agents. They're personal financial reps. That's all they ever want to do. They love the before and after. They love the client interaction. They love the relationships. Some that are really good make 50, 60 grand. Some that are excellent at what they do might even make six-figure incomes. But I think they're pretty limited for going much higher than that because, well, there's only 24 hours in a day. And at some point we get tired. Or we could think a little bit bigger. Maybe like some of the people that want to move on to become regional vice presidents, where they might say, you know what, I don't really want to have to go find all the clients. I want to find the people who find the clients. In which case, most of them make a lot more money. Or we could think bigger yet by some of the people that build great big hierarchies and say, you know what, I don't even want to find the people who find the clients. I want to find the people who find the people who find the clients. In which case, I think, again, you maximize your opportunity. And so I tell you that one more time to emphasize what you're looking at. I wasn't thinking that big when I got started in Primerica, and I'm not suggesting you're thinking that big either. I just think it's important at the beginning that you know exactly what you have the potential to do. So once I got past the first question that most people ask, and the first question most people ask is it legit? Right, and honestly, it's because, we talk a pretty good game and we don't normally publicly advertise. And so most folks that we talk to aren't familiar with Primerica, and so they just want to know, is it legit? And I'm telling you right now, if we're still wrestling with that question at this point in our conversation, you do need to hit pause and go get some questions answered. You need to go do your own doggone research. We can't have experienced the success we have at the level we had and not be legit. Now, I'm not promising that you're going to succeed. I'm just saying that the company and the opportunity is real. But once I got past that question, well, I no longer cared about what broke Uncle Freddie or Cousin Joe had to say. And what do I mean when I say that? Most of the people that I talked to early in my business were pretty supportive. They were pretty excited. Said, man, this looks really great. What a great concept, Jeff. I think you could do well. It's going to be hard work, but I think you'll be all right. But eventually, I did talk to a couple of people that were like, Primerica. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, no. My cousin did that. She didn't make any money. And I honestly have had people that get into that conversation, turn around, come back to me and quit. Like somehow it was too good to be true or they just knew it wasn't going to work for them. And I said, man, you gotta back the truck up. Right? I wasn't as committed day one as I am now. You don't ask somebody to marry you on your first date. But if I said I was going to check this deal out, it was going to take a lot more than that to knock me off my horse. And so the next time it happened, I decided to fight back. I said, well, tell me about your cousin. Did she ever, take her state class, take her state test, get her state license? What do you think the answer was? No. Well, did she ever sit down with a family, serve a client, help a family? No. So how long was your cousin with us? He's like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, so what you're telling me is that your cousin didn't work. And the guy's like, you know what? Yeah, she pretty much quits everything. Now, and think about that. An objection pops up. Most people or some people would turn around and throw away a chance at an incredibly impactful business opportunity. I flex back at it. It falls down. It wasn't even an objection. And here's the crazy thing, God's honest truth. I've had that person, somebody that says, you're wasting time, it's not going to work. I've had that person down the road come work with me and my team. How does that even happen? How does a person go from telling me not to do something and then they themselves doing that thing? Here's how. People will not see your business for what your business truly is. They will only see your business for how you portray it. See, that person's cousin treated it like it was nothing. She didn't take it serious. She didn't dress sharp. She didn't go to class. She didn't go to training. She didn't do anything we asked her to do. She treated it like it was nothing. So when he saw it from her, it was nothing. I, on the other hand, treated it with the respect that it deserves. I mean, I dressed sharp. I went to class. I got my license. I helped families. I went to every training. I listened to all of the audios. I did everything my coach asked me to do. I treated it like a serious business. So when he saw it from me, it was a serious business. Primerica didn't change. The person portraying Primerica changed. So be careful on how you interact with those that are around you. But we have to get past that first question, because that's never really the question that we have to answer. The question we have to answer is, what are you going to do about it? Right? Just because we think it's one of the best North American business opportunities, it still is a business opportunity. If you do nothing, you get nothing. What are you going to do about it? And here's what I mean. When I got started, I got recruited into a great Primerica office, and there were maybe 20 or 25 people that would show up every week to our weekly training classes, right? And they would talk to all of us about, having a chance to, open our own office and become a regional vice president, the potential one day of making a six-figure income. And I'll be honest, I bought into that. I wanted a chance to get my own office and a chance to make six figures. But I was not naive enough to believe that all 25 of us were going to be able to get our own offices. I pray that you're not that naive either. Now, could we have? Absolutely, right? But I just know most people aren't willing to do what it takes. So when I say, what are you going to do about it? I just mean the real business owner stuff. I just mean, are you willing to wake up early and stay up late? Are you willing to show up early and stay late? Are you willing, to go find the answers, to work hard? Are you willing to get knocked down and pick yourself back up time and time again? Because in North American business, it's guts and tenacity that wins, not brains and talent. And our question is, are you going to be the 1 out of 20 that gets that? Or the 19 out of 20 that ends up average and ordinary just like everybody else? See, this opportunity, if you'll work hard, truly gives you the chance to become that one. And it can happen without us going into debt or without us working 100 hours a week. But it doesn't just fall in your lap. You are going to have to chase this down. So let's talk just a little bit more about the way these businesses get built. You see, Primerica builds its business like probably a lot of other institutions build theirs. If you went down to maybe a local insurance office wherever you live, you probably walk in and find a small office with a team of agents. If you went into maybe an investment firm, you might find a small office with a team of agents. And that looks very similar to the way that we do it at Primerica. See, Primerica runs its business through local offices. And those offices are run by people we call regional vice presidents. Regional vice presidents help us recruit and train agents. And you know what? I'm going to throw the word licensed in there because we really want you to get that licensed ASAP. And licensed agents help families solve financial challenges through a tool that we call a financial needs analysis. And that financial needs analysis gives you and I two huge advantages in the marketplace. Advantage number one is this. When you look at what Primerica does, when you think about maybe the amount of income opportunity per client that we would help, it's actually astonishing compared to what happens in the marketplace, because we deal in several major areas of finance as opposed to one or two, which gives us a chance, to make it a financially beneficial relationship. If you think about this, and I'd use me as an example, when my wife and I got married and we had our first child, let's say that I wanted to buy a life insurance policy. And so I go talk to a life insurance company and they get that set up for me. Well, a couple years later, let's say I want to get a mortgage and buy a house. What are the chances my life insurance company can actually do my mortgage? Slim to none. They just left money on the table. So I got to go talk to a mortgage company now to buy a house. Let's say a couple of years go by again and I want to set up maybe a college account for my daughter. What are the chances my mortgage company can help me with my college account for my daughter? Slim to none. They, again, just left money on the table. See, what I know about good business people is good business people don't make a habit of leaving money on the table. So since Primerica works in several areas of finance, we're able to help people with their term insurance programs or auto and homeowners insurance solutions or legal protection programs. And so we are able to make, honestly, a lot of money for what it is that we do. That's competitive advantage number one. But competitive advantage number two is this. In spite of popular opinion, American business or North American business is not just about making money. It also has to be about helping people. If all you're doing is making money, but you're not helping anybody, you're not going to be in business very long. On the flip side, if all you're doing is helping people, but you're not making money, you're already out of business. And so let's talk about the help that we can offer to the clients that we talk to. Again, I use me and my family just as an example. Let's go back and let's say when my wife and I, we got married and we were looking at our budget, and let's say every month we found out that we have a couple $100 left over that I want to be smart with. Now, I'm not really sure what to do with it, if I should pay off debt or save or invest. I just don't know what to do, but I want to be smart. So let's pretend that I called up my buddy, the insurance agent. And I said, hey, I looked at my budget. I've got a couple $100. I want to be smart with it. What do you suggest I do? Well, what do you think he's going to suggest? He's probably going to say, come buy a policy. Now, does that make him a bad guy? No, it makes him an insurance agent. Or I called up somebody else that does investments. I say, I got a couple $100. I want to be smart with it. What's your suggestion? He's going to say, come open an account. But if I sat down with a Primerica representative, right, you might say, well, honestly, I don't know, but let's look at this analysis and find out. And let's say that you get back with my family in a couple of days and you say, here's what I found out, Jeff. Out of that $200, if we took 50 of it and put it towards your retirement, we might be able to get you to retire a couple of years sooner. If we put 50 of it and put it towards your daughter's college account, we might be able to help her get into a good state school. Maybe not a private school, but a state school. If we took 50 of it and put it towards your credit card debt, we might be able to pay that off 2 or 3 years faster and save you a couple of thousand of interest. And you are a little underinsured, so let's put 50 there. My question to you is this: how much better of a solution for my family is that, as opposed to somebody just selling me whatever they get paid a commission to sell me? And I don't tell you that so that you understand how great our financial analysis is. Now, I tell you that so that one more time I can make a distinction between the way business owners think and salespeople or agents. You see, every single morning, a salesman wakes up with the same question on their mind. Where's my next sale? Where's my next deal, my next client, my next meal, my next paycheck? Where's my next sale? And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just honestly the thought of that nauseates me, to think that every single morning I got to wake up and go kill something and drag it back to the cave. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with that. That's not why I came here. But see, business owners rarely think about where the sale comes from, right? Think about this, right? So I still help a few clients a month myself, whether it's with their financial needs analysis or their insurance or their investments. But do you think that the executive team at Primerica is having a meeting? They're really excited about the couple of clients Jeff helped last month? No, they probably don't even know that I did. Right? I'll typically drive through, a big coffee chain on the way to the office in the morning. Do you think that these big coffee chains are talking in their boardrooms today about the coffee Jeff had this morning? No, they probably don't even know that I did. You know what those coffee guys are talking about? What do we have to do to get more stores and locations opened up and running successfully, running profitably all across North America? You know what I keep hearing our leadership team at Primerica talking about? What do we have to do to increase our market share, to open more offices so that we can help more families across North America? Well, think about that. If Primerica is thinking about expansion and doing something big, and we need more offices, and offices are run really by licensed agents, then what I think Primerica is asking is, what do we have to do to get more licensed agents? And if Primerica is asking the question, what do we have to do to grow the size of our licensed sales force, and regional vice presidents like me are asking, what do I have to do to get more licensed agents, then somebody like you should also be asking, what do I have to do to get more licensed agents? Because in North American business, right, especially in the financial sector, typically whoever has the most licensed agents makes the most money. And that's so important. I'll say it again. The bigger the size of your team, the more opportunity that you have. I mean, just think about business for a second. Let's say that, that we have somebody over here that runs a law firm with 30 licensed lawyers, and somebody over here runs a law firm with 3. Which one's probably going to make more? The person with 30 licensed lawyers. If somebody had a record label with 100 artists and somebody else had a record label with 10, who's got a chance to make more money? Probably the one with 100. Now, do they get paid to recruit artists? No, they get paid to sell records. But somebody with 100 artists has a lot more opportunity to sell records than somebody with 10. And so when I think about, the conversation this really leads us to, is about somebody being able to build something pretty big. I want to give you one more example, and I'm going to use this space over here just to talk again about maybe a real estate. And again, we're not real estate. I love this concept because it has everything to do with the way that my mind works. And let's say that you and I were going to be in the same outfit. Let's say that we're going to be in real estate, and you're going to work on the west side of town, and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to work on the east side of town. And let's say we're with the same company, and just for example, let's say the demographics are the same. Home values are the same. Everything else is the same. And let's say in this example that out of your office, you've recruited, licensed, and trained 30 people, and I've recruited, licensed, and trained 3. Now, we obviously know chances are you've got more opportunity because you've got 30. But let me add one detail we haven't talked about. Let's say in this example that I'm twice as good at selling houses as you are, and my guys are at least half as good as me, and your guys are just half as good as you. Now, which one of us has a chance to make more money? Right, let's look at this. Might be a trick question. Let's say every single month I'm out here and I'm selling 4 houses myself. Man, I'm pounding the pavement, I'm networking, I'm doing open houses, I'm selling 4 houses. And I've trained my team to be half as good as me. So if I sell 4, they each sell 2. Well, that's 6 houses plus my 4. Every month, that's 10 houses that we're able to help people buy through my agency. I'd like to think that if we're, selling 10 houses a month, we're probably doing okay. But I said, remember, you're half as good as I am. That means you only sold 2. And you've taught your team to be half as good as you. They each sell 1. There's 30 houses plus your 2. We already know that this one is able to make more money. Here's another question. Which one do you think has a bigger opportunity for more success in the future? This one, which goes to prove one very important point. In the business of selling houses, the number one skill to learn is not how to sell a house. The number one skill to learn is how to recruit and teach somebody else to sell a house. Now listen, we can't skip past training you. Obviously, you have to know what you're doing in order to teach somebody else how to do it. But at the end of the day, we're not really concerned about how good you can be. We're concerned about how big you can be. Right? I'll talk to folks sometimes like, well, you're talking about being big, but I just want to be good. Look, I want to be good too. But I would rather you be big. Sometimes we think about, in pop culture today, the people that are the best at what they do. I'll just use the NBA right now. In 2018, LeBron James traded to the Los Angeles Lakers and signed the largest NBA contract to date in American history. And when this contract pays out, he will be the highest paid basketball player professionally of all time. It's about a $38 million a year contract. And so let's just, for argument's sake, say right now he's the best basketball player in North America. Right now, the best person really in the world at what he does is still getting out-earned almost 3-1 by the family that owns the Lakers. In 2017, their reported net income was $115 million. So the best guy at what he does still gets out-earned by the people that own it. Which means you don't have to be very good at basketball to make a lot of money in basketball, but you better recruit some good players to be on your team, right? You wouldn't have to be really, really good at cooking to make money in restaurant, but you better recruit some people that are pretty good at cooking. And you might not be able to sing, but you could still make a lot of money in the music business if you recruited some people that were pretty good at singing. I think about an example. Right, when I was in high school, I went to a small, it was a 2A farm school, and I played football. And in high school football, they would not even let my team play against a team that was a 4A or a 5A school. They wouldn't even let us play. Now listen, it's 11 on 11. You put 11 on the field, I put 11 on the field, but our best 11 was 11 out of 200. Their best 11 was 11 out of 2,000. It's not even fair. They wouldn't even let us play. And I tell you that again because ultimately we want you to be good. But this is really about us getting big. So let's finish up by talking a little bit about how I did this. A lot of times people will ask me, well, how did you have some of the success that you had at the beginning? And I tell you, look, I did exactly what I'm telling you that you should do. I took my trainer to see mom and dad. I took my trainer to see most of my aunts and uncles. And we went and saw some friends of ours that had just bought a house, just had a baby, kind of in the same boat that we were in. And people will sometimes ask me, well, why did you go see mom? And my answer is always because I could, right? I mean, I would have given a presentation to Joe Blow on the street corner, but Joe Blow's not going to give me 30 minutes. Mom would. And the reason that we want to go see these people in your life, the ones that you are absolutely the closest to, the ones that love you, the ones that want to see you succeed, the ones you're still going to know 5 or 10 years from now. You see, the reasons we wanted to see those people in my life was because, number one, these people were the ones most willing to help. They're the ones, why are we friends? Because we help each other. Why are we family? Because we help each other. Listen, I needed some help. I just needed to get some experience. I didn't even care if they became clients or not. And when we go talk to people, and at least it's me personally, I couldn't care less if these people buy or these people get recruited by us. I really don't care. What I do care about is that these people know what Primerica does, love what Primerica does, because they got it explained to them by somebody who knows how to explain it. In my experience, as long as we've got a certified trainer giving the presentation with the people that you know, nobody walks away with a sour taste in their mouth. Nobody. People love what we do. Where we run into issues is where somebody who doesn't know what they're saying says way too much, way too soon. And so these were the people that have said, hey, I need 30 minutes. Can I come by? Hey, brother, I need 30 minutes. Hey, friend, I need 30 minutes. Hey, next door neighbor, can I get 30 minutes? These are the people that would be willing to sit down and help us out. And I needed them to know what I was doing. And by the way, I honestly, and this is really important, I needed my trainer with me on these appointments specifically. Do you have any idea if I would have shown up at my parents' house and say, let me show you the great things I could do with your money, and I showed up by myself, do you have any idea how that conversation would have ended? My dad probably would have said, why don't you pay me back the $50 you borrowed last week first? You ain't touching my checkbook, right? I needed my trainer there. It was going to be way too informal. If I showed up by myself, they'd be trying to talk about that game last weekend or, hey, buddy, you want a beer? Have a piece of cake? And I'm like, no, look, this is serious. This is business. I need you to pay attention. I also needed them to see that my trainer was really capable and good at what he did. See, at the end of the day, they would sit down because they knew me. They listened because my trainer was good. I explained to folks, look, we have a win-win relationship to work this business together. You have credibility with people that might sit down with you, but you might not have the expertise to earn their business. Well, we might have the expertise to earn their business, but we don't have the credibility to sit down with them. So without us, you can't win. Without you, we can't win. We do have a mutually beneficial relationship if we could work together to go do something pretty big. But as soon as they knew that I was in capable hands, then that moved us into the second reason that we want to go see these people. And it's because they're the ones most willing to refer us to other people. So once they knew that this was really, really good, excited about what I'm doing, and that my trainer was really capable, and they started to think of other people that I should go talk to, and they would refer me to maybe some of their coworkers. They refer me to some of their friends, and they opened up some doors that were hugely important at that phase with me getting started. I needed that. Listen, I don't really care what business you're trying to build. If you don't have a network of people that love you, love what you do, willing to tell people, it's going to be pretty tough to win. But if you do have a network of people that love you, love what you do, willing to tell people, it's going to be pretty tough to lose. We want to make sure that we can build you a referral base of people that love you and will tell people about it. Now, I want to tell you something. This is the truth. More than half of the people that we sat down with for my training did business with us. More than half. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to experience success like that. I'm just telling you what I saw, which is phenomenal odds. But some of the people that I talked to that never did business with me have had more to do with me winning here than some of the people that became clients. Listen to what I just said. Some of the people that never bought had more to do with my success than some of the people that did. One in particular was my aunt and uncle. They still today don't own anything that Primerica offers. And it's not because they didn't like it, or it's not because they didn't want it. When I sat down with them, they had low-cost term insurance, a ton of money in mutual funds, and no debt. They were the perfect example. They were the epitome of what we do. And once they saw my presentation and saw the concepts that we help people with, they said, wait a minute. Like, all of those things are what we had to do to get where we are, but it took us years to figure this out on our own. You teach that to people for free. I said, yeah, that's what we do. Oh my goodness. Well, they started telling everybody that they need to come see what Jeff's doing. You need to come see what my nephew's doing. They become an incredibly huge referral source. And that's important because sometimes I'll have people even in my team that get all bent out of shape when their brother doesn't buy or their cousin doesn't join. I said, whoa, man, that's not what I'm after. Think about this. If my aunt and uncle actually did business with me, did that guarantee me success 12 months down the road? No. If they did not do business with me, did that guarantee me failure 12 months down the road? No. So whether they did or didn't, it might have been a couple $100 one way or the other. To focus on that at the expense of building a relationship with somebody that would give me referrals for a lifetime would be like stepping over a $100 bill to pick up a penny. It's just silly. All right, let me ask you a question. How often today do you think that most people think about money? Right? All the time? Pretty much constantly. Which means your family, your friends are probably thinking about money all the time. And their friends and their coworkers are probably thinking about money all the time. So the question is, when your friends and family go to work next week and they're standing around the coffee pot or the water cooler and the topic of money comes up, who or what comes to mind when they start talking about money? Is it going to be that insurance company that advertises on TV? Is it going to be the local guy in the neighborhood that does investments? Is it going to be, some seminar they went to at their church, or some book they read, or some, hot investment tip they got from a guy that doesn't have any money? Or are they going to be thinking about you? We need them thinking about you. Hey, you're looking to maybe get some, advice on saving insurance dollars? You should talk to my brother. Hey, looking for somebody to help you plan out your finances? You should talk to my cousin. Hey, you're looking for some part-time work, some part-time opportunity? My best friend does that. But if those people don't know what you do, those conversations never happen. So as soon as I understood the motive of why we wanted to talk to the people that I knew, and that the motive was not to recruit my grandma or sell my mom, the motive was to let the people I care about most know what I do so that they could tell others. Well, then I didn't come to the table with 5 names and phone numbers. I came with all 500 people that I know. Because if that really was the motive, that everybody you know knows what you do so they could tell people that they know, who would you leave off your list? Nobody. I want everybody to know what I do. When you think about this, here's something I want to close with. Listen, if you were an attorney, I don't know where you are in North America, but if you pretty much went into any major metropolitan city in North America and you were an attorney, you probably wouldn't have any challenge finding clients. Pretty easy to find some clients. Your biggest challenge is how can you be in more than one courtroom at the same time? And the only way you ever could would you'd have to bring somebody else on board and teach them to help you in your company so that Monday morning you could be in courtroom 1 and they could be in courtroom 2. See, helping people fix their financial challenges, get out of debt, plan for the future, save money, it's not very hard to find clients. Everybody wants what we do. Your biggest challenge is how can you be in more than one house at 6 o'clock Monday night? And the only way that you ever could was that you bring somebody else on board and teach them and train them how to do this business so at 6 o'clock Monday you could be with the Johnsons and they could be with the Joneses. And it's that duplication that's the magic to Primerica's success. Best of luck. We're super excited to have you on our team.